Hi friends, welcome back. Let's scoot you in a little bit closer. There we go. Long time no see down here. I was filming this up in my room and I may switch back and forth, but frankly, I missed this old setup with whoever hangs out back here, you guys here, and I'm just chilling, hanging out with my friends. I do need your advice though. We have to figure out what we want to do back here. What colors we want, if I would say if any, but like what color, what do we want back here? So let me know if you have a preference anyway. So tonight we are on with the next installment. I have some good ones. I've been feeling like the ones I've been selecting were kind of all similar, so I think I chose some. There's something on the table. There we go. Sorry. I think I chose a better variety this week. So hopefully I did. We'll see. I'm going to kind of pick up where I left off last week because I felt like last week's video was running a little bit long and I had 2 submissions left. So I'm going to read those and then we'll get into what I selected for this week. So let's get started, friends. X took his ring off, so I left. 2 years ago, I proposed to my boyfriend. He said no, but suggested that he still wears it as a companion ring, aka, he is still committed to me. However, he started using the ring as a manipulation tactic. I drank too much at girls' night equals ring off and a huge fight. Ring would go back on if I did all of the house chores. Ring would be taken off again if I played too many video games, spent too much time playing guitar or piano, aka my hobbies were taking my time away from him. I planned many date nights after that, and he didn't want to go to any of them. Ring would be taken off again if I did anything that was out of his scope of normal, like going to the grocery store and he needing the receipt ASAP. Calling my mom would have to be on speakerphone. The am I the problem thing is, I tried to do a very bad thing to my life. I was in a bad place. There's one person who seriously saved me, a friend I've known for 10 years. I left the ex, but I want to explore what could be with the one person who actually gave 2 poops about me when I was in a bad place. But is that selfish? I truly care about him. He is selfless, responsible, respectful, funny, empathetic, caring. I see him being my forever. I'm just worried that my past will never make it possible. So, am I the problem? Edit. Because I caused some confusion, the last paragraph doesn't reflect on my ex. These are all the attributes of the new person I've been getting lunch with casually and playing trivia with our friends. Okay, so clearly, well done on leaving the ex. That person is not healthy. They're extremely toxic, and I'm going to say it because I've been saying it quite a bit over the last 2 videos, but abusive. Emotional abuse is abusive. Trying to manipulate them, trying to control them with the ring. They recognize that and left. Thankfully. I don't... I lost my train of thought on that. I do feel very sorry for them that they were in that bad place and tried to do what they're alluding to trying to do. I do hope that they're in a better place now. However, it sounds like they've had a lot of emotional upheaval during this time, and jumping into a new relationship with anyone is not the best idea. I feel like they should be speaking to a counselor or a therapist, and that is, to me, it's not at all a slight, it's not at all an insulting, it's just, I am a huge advocate for therapy for everyone, and it sounds like they have a lot that they need to talk through with a therapist would be extremely beneficial. That aside, someone who is genuinely going to be a good person in your life should not want to date someone who has just gone through all of that, because they're not going to be in the right emotional or mental headspace to take on a real relationship. It sounds like they've been seeing each other casually, which is okay, but anyone wanting to rush in and be a white knight for someone in that situation and vulnerable space, it's not uncommon for that to also turn abusive. I think it's called white knight syndrome, where someone wants to rush in and be a fixer and fix everything and save someone. And then once that person starts to get back on their feet and look around and be like, hey, my life's good. I don't appreciate constantly having to be saved from nothing. I need you to check in. Did you get to the grocery store? Did you get home from the grocery store? Why were you 5 minutes late? I was worried about you. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? This person is an adult. They don't have to answer to anyone. Respectfully, as a partner, they might say, check in and that kind of thing. But if someone is constantly on you, that is another form of manipulation and controlling. Then they'll throw in, well, I was there for you when no one else would. It's messy, it's toxic, it's not okay. So I would caution this poster. First of all, no, they're not the problem. They're not. They're fine. They're not the problem in this situation. I would strongly caution them, though, to not jump into another relationship. Take some time, do some self-reflection, do some therapy. Get into a good headspace before you jump into another relationship. Casually date. I personally wouldn't even recommend that, but and again, if this person is all of the attributes they listed, frankly, they should not be trying to date this person if they're aware of the situation. So that's my 2 cents on that. As always, I would love to hear your opinion. If you leave a comment, I would really love to have a back and forth about these. It'd be great, because my opinion is certainly not the be-all, end-all. And I feel like it's good to have these kinds of conversations. So, next one. Am I the problem for snapping at my wife and calling her crazy because she wants me to take a paternity test for my nephew? Let's get into it. My wife and I have been married for 10 years and together for 14. We are child-free. I also have a nephew who's currently 13, and I'm not going to lie, he looks a lot like me and has a lot of the same facial features as me. I'm really proud of him, and we have a close bond. I have played a father-like role in his life since he was a kid. He has a deadbeat father, and my sister divorced him long ago. A couple of my family members have commented on how my nephew looks a lot like me, and while I initially thought it was wholesome, my wife, for some reason, became very insecure and started getting doubts. She was questioning why I needed to play such a prominent role in my nephew's life, why my nephew had autism, etc. The insinuations just became weird and made me uncomfortable. I do agree that my sister has played some part in my wife's insecurities because of her dry humor. During family gatherings, my sister jokes a lot about how wholesome it is that her son looks like me, and that she couldn't be happier. It's obviously a joke, but I spoke to my sister and asked if she could tone it down a bit because it was making my wife a bit crazy. However, last night, my wife asked if I could take a paternity test just for her peace of mind. That's when I finally snapped and called her crazy, and that marrying her was the biggest mistake of my life. I did immediately regret saying it because I meant none of it, and my wife is the love of my life. But my wife got quiet and started crying shortly after, and I had to console her. Was I the problem? In the argument? Yes. Don't ever say anything in an argument that you're going to regret later, and that can be easier said than done. But as an adult, you should have a better handle on your emotions than going off saying that marrying someone is the biggest mistake of your life. That is a very bold statement to make. That argument aside, I would deeply resent the insinuation that the wife is making. Just because your nephew looks like you, that's genetics. What? That's, I'm not going to say crazy because I don't like how casually that term gets thrown around, but that is wild. That is a wild conclusion to jump to. A funny side story. So, my daughter's father has very strong genetics on his side of the family. They all look very similar because genetics, you know. So when I was pregnant with our daughter, I was wondering what she was going to look like because that's what a lot of people do, you know, when you're expecting a child. And I fully expected her to look a lot like his side of the family because they are, again, very genetically strong. They have a lot of features that they all seem to share. And so the first time I saw her after she was born, you know, obviously, literally seconds after she was born, my very first thought when I saw her was, holy cow, she looks just like my sister. It was the craziest thing. That never occurred to me. And then I started laughing because when we were younger, my sister and I looked very similar. Very similar. People thought we were twins, even though we were 4 years apart. She has curly hair. It's a whole thing. We don't look, I mean, we still look similar now, but I have very straight hair. She has very curly hair. And anyway, but my first thought when I saw my daughter was, holy cow, she looks just like my sister. And then I said, wait a minute, that means she must also look a lot like me, which I was very surprised about because, again, I just figured she was going to look like her father and his side. But even if, which now she still looks quite a bit like my sister. My daughter has the same wild, beautiful curly hair. Obviously, nothing happened between my sister and me that insinuation wouldn't hold, but genetics. You can be a carbon copy of your great 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 grandfather who died, you know, what, 10, 20, 30 years ago, if not more. Probably a lot more, but you get my point. A relative far in the past who is long, long gone, you can be a carbon copy of that person. Obviously, nothing untoward could have happened, but genetics. So I would dig deeper into why this wife is insinuating this. Just because the husband is close with his nephew, especially if he doesn't have a father figure, that's really wonderful for him to step up like that. Just because they look alike, that means absolutely nothing. That means less than nothing beyond just the fact that they're family. So if I were the husband, I would be very deeply offended at the insinuation. If I were the wife, I would be very deeply offended that he threw that out casually during an argument that I was the biggest mistake of his life. I think in this situation, couples counseling would be extremely beneficial, to open up some communication on why her train of thought is what it is and why he went nuclear during the argument and just threw that out there, because that is a very bold statement to make. Let me know what you think. Sorry, I got a bit rambly on that side story, but there you go. Am I the problem for telling my single friend to get a boyfriend? I, 22 male, am dating my boyfriend, Jack, 22 male. That is not a typo, we're gay, and I'm just going to preface all of this by saying I'm reading directly from this. Obviously, gay people are real. I don't know why they felt the need to preface this, but again, I'm just reading this directly from what this is. I often like to get him flowers. He doesn't particularly like flowers, and it started as kind of a joke, light bullying, because of the common stereotype of gay guys being feminine and flowers being girly. but now it's a pretty nice tradition. Over the weekend, my friends and I went out as a group and I got Jack flowers. Our friend group is mixed of guys and girls, and one of my mates, Alex, made a joke about me not being a gentleman and getting some for everybody. Jack then gave him one of the flowers, and he gave an exaggerated bow. It was very jokey and not serious at all. Here's where things get a little weird. Amy, 21 female, did not seem to like this joke at all. Like, spent the entire thing kind of vaguely sulking. I thought I was imagining it, but she came to me at the end and told me it was rude of me to get my boyfriend flowers and not the girls at the table. I told her she was being strange, and it's not my job to get anyone who isn't Jack flowers. She said I let Alex have one, and he is not even a girl. I don't know if I came off rude here, but I was just genuinely, completely stunned and confused, so I told her to get a boyfriend if she wants flowers so bad. She told me I was being misogynistic by saying she needed a man to buy her flowers. I realize I may have implied that, but I don't really think it was a bad thing to do, since she's straight and seemed to want to have flowers bought for her, not to buy them herself. I didn't answer and might have given her the stink eye, which I kind of do by mistake when someone says something really dumb or confusing. Anyway, she said I'm the bad guy, or I'm the problem, and has been kind of off in group chats lately. Is something flying straight over my head? I've never been in a situation like this before. Is this a straight people rule I don't understand? Are guys supposed to get girls flowers even when they aren't dating? No. Even when you are dating, not everybody likes flowers or wants to buy flowers for other people. I'm confused as well for what Amy was thinking and feeling and said. All feelings are valid, all feelings are feelings. How you choose to act on those feelings, however, can be problematic. Personally, let me preface all of that by saying I don't believe this stereotype that homosexual people are feminine, masculine. People are people. They are who they are. They are what they are. Everyone is different. But again, I didn't write it, but I just want to be very clear on that. And I'm digging. I don't ever want to offend anybody, so I'm not of that culture. I can't speak to that culture. I don't want to step on toes. So sorry. I think Amy was being weird in this situation. Of course, this poster would get his boyfriend flowers if that's a little joke between them. I think it's very sweet. I don't know, how Jack feels about that, but he seemed to be fine with it, and he gave one to Alex. And it seemed to be a very lighthearted situation that Amy seems to have taken a little bit too far and doubled down on it. I don't feel like the poster was in the wrong or was the problem in this situation. I don't feel like he was being, try that again. I don't feel like he was being misogynistic either, because she was pressing him for flowers. So if she is presumably straight, as he seems to allude to in the post, yeah, if she wants flowers and she doesn't want to buy them herself, but she wants this person to buy them for her, sounds like you need a boyfriend who will buy you flowers, or a girlfriend, or whatever, she's into. But it sounds like, and this could be my take on it, but it sounds like she might be romantically interested in the poster and was maybe feeling a little bit jealous that he bought his boyfriend flowers. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Either way, I don't feel like the poster was the bad guy. I don't feel like he said anything wrong or offensive. I don't know why she seemed to take it that way, unless there's something else going on that we don't understand. Like maybe she does have feelings for him. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I would love to hear your thoughts on What would you do in my situation? 32 female, 45 male, open relationship. I don't know if this will help at all, but I really need a fresh perspective. Names are obviously changed. Imagine Anna and Thomas are married with 2 children. Thomas falls in love with Claire and ends up opening up his marriage to be with Anna and Claire simultaneously. Anna and Claire get along fine, but never become friends due to personality differences. Claire spends every weekend with them, but spends the weeks in her own apartment. Thomas keeps telling Claire that he loves her, but he has to stay married with Anna because of the kids. He doesn't want to put them through a divorce. This goes on for years. Claire feels lonely during the week and wants to go out and date people. Thomas is not okay with that, though, and says he'd be too jealous. Claire points out that it's not really fair because he has his family while she only has half of him on the weekends. Thomas points out that it's not comparable, him being a joyless marriage for 20 years versus Claire dating and falling in love with new people. He feels he'd be at a disadvantage. Claire accepts this and goes on for several more years, in which she starts noticing/realizing that Thomas has no intention of ever moving out, regardless of whether the kids are still living in the house or not. Apparently, he values loyalty above everything else. The problem is that Claire has never loved anyone that much before, and leaving would be the hardest thing she'd ever do. I'm Claire, obviously, and what's driving me crazy is that Thomas keeps saying that this arrangement is fair, and his male friends agree with him. He's always there for me and furnished my entire apartment, etc., but I feel like I'm being used nonetheless. Any thoughts? Yes, you are being used, Claire. It's not fair what Thomas is doing to you. If you want a real relationship, I don't want to say a real relationship because I don't want to take away what you feel like you have with Thomas. If you want a relationship that offers you more than what Thomas can offer you, then that's your answer. Thomas is refusing to leave his marriage, which, in my opinion, and I'm no expert on open relationships, but I don't feel like that's a true open relationship. It feels like Thomas wanting to have his cake and eat it too. An open relationship is open for all parties to date, as long as there's communication and trust and boundaries. Thomas just wants his wife and his girlfriend. That is not an open relationship. Again, I'm not an expert, but from my understanding of what an open relationship is, that is not what this is. This is Thomas with a mistress. That being said, if Claire is not happy with how the relationship is and Thomas is unwilling to compromise or find a solution, then I think Claire needs to leave. That is the clearest solution. It is not the easiest. It's not easy leaving a long-term relationship. It's in fact one of the hardest things you have to do when the time comes, if the time comes. And it feels like this situation has run its course. Personally, I'm glad Claire has started to open her eyes and look around, because if she does want a more traditional relationship, this is not going to be it for her. Again, I'm going to say it, therapy would be good for her to sort through this and talk to someone. A therapist is not there to advise you or tell you what you should do, but to listen to you and help you attain some clarity. And frankly, if I may say this, of course his friends are going to agree with him. That's not to say all men would want this situation or would enjoy this situation, but you are the company you keep. So if he's okay with the situation, I would imagine that his friends are going to be of a similar mindset and be on his viewpoint with this. So again, not all men would want this, but if this is what he wants for himself, I doubt highly he is going to either tell Claire that his friends disagree with the situation or listen to his friends that may disagree with the situation, if any, in fact, do. Because again, you are the company you keep. So, the next one. Am I the problem for giving my nephew pizza bagels? My husband, male 40s, and I, male 40s, are hosting my sister, female 40s, as well as her husband slash my brother-in-law and their 2 kids, A, a toddler, and B, male 12. Since they don't have a lot of time alone and also can't afford to take many vacations, my husband and I put them up in a hotel for 2 days, 1 night. They're here so they can have some alone time without the kids. My husband and I don't have any kids, but we're perfectly capable of taking care of the kids for a couple of days solo. The toddler was pretty easy. Maybe she's not a toddler yet, and she's still an infant. I'm not really sure of the specific distinction, but she ate baby food in bottles and some puffed cereal stuff provided by my sis. The problem came with feeding my nephew, B. For dinner, we made a tossed salad together. Everyone helped out with chopping vegetables. It was great. Then we made pizza bagels for the main. We had a great low-key dinner with our salads and bagel bites, and we camped out in the TV room watching a movie until B fell asleep. In my mind, I thought it was a great evening. Well, my sister and brother-in-law came back home from the hotel and were chatting in the kitchen, and she notices the pizza bagel box sitting in the recycling. She said, "You eat pizza bagels?" And I said, "Well, not usually, but we made them last night with B." Well, she flipped out on me for feeding B such a garbage snack. That's when I said, "Whoa, we made a nice chopped salad to go with it." And then she flipped out more for the fact that this was not merely a snack, but our dinner. I told her people have pizza and salad for dinner all the time. What's wrong with this? It was fun and easy. She told me that now I'm going to have B obsessed with junk food, and that if I had known this was going to happen, I never would have trusted you with taking care of them. You're not a parent, and it shows. Which honestly just felt like a low blow. My brother-in-law apologized to me in private, but my sister is still acting cold. The nephew is 12. Are you telling me he's never had McDonald's? He's never had any kind of junk food ever in his life? First of all, shenanigans. Second of all, how are you going to learn moderation if you never have to experience moderation? This, to me, sounds like an amazing evening with the uncles, and frankly, I'm kind of jealous. I want to come next time. But they had a salad. Yeah, they had some junk food, but, it's a fun occasional night out. It's a good family time. It was a great bonding time. Every parent is allowed to parent how they want to parent, as long as, not breaking any laws. But if the mom felt that strongly about dietary restrictions, say something. Bring with you what you want your children to eat if you are not okay with them eating whatever is offered. I feel like she grossly overreacted. I don't know if maybe that was her first time away from her son. It sounds like it's kind of a regular thing, though, and it was a very generous offer for the brother, the man poster in the situation, and his husband to, put them up in a hotel so they can have some, kid-free time to take the kids, both kids, during this time, and to hang out and have some good family time. I'm glad the brother-in-law apologized. I don't understand the sister's stance on this. When my daughter was really little, I didn't want her having junk food, but I also understood that as she grew up, it's just going to happen. And it has. And, she's 13 now, and you can't avoid junk food. You just can't. Not here, not where we live. But it's also can be used as a good learning tool with everything in moderation. It's fine to have it on occasion, so long as you have regular healthy meals on the regular. It's your job as a parent to teach them these kinds of things. And there are some parents who raise their kids with no sugar, no junk food, no processed food, and that's great. But once your kid turns 18 or whenever they move out of the house, the whole world opens up to them. They're gonna try it. They're just going to. I don't feel like the junk food is the enemy here. It feels like there's something else going on here, and the sister lashed out. But I don't feel like the brother has anything to apologize for here. I don't know how they should handle this. Maybe talk to her and not apologize necessarily, but be like, hey, help me understand where all this is coming from, because it can't just be about the junk food. And that probably may not be the best way to approach the situation, but brothers and sisters have a very long history of irritating each other and then hopefully talking it out and coming to a conclusion. So hopefully they can figure this out. But to answer his problem, no, I don't feel like he was the problem here whatsoever. I feel like it was an incredibly generous gift that he gave to the parents to give them the night off. And it sounds like the nephew and the uncles had a really awesome evening together. So I don't understand what her problem was there. Am I the problem for quitting my job only after my divorce, even though my ex wanted me to do it before? Throwaway account, because my ex will see this post. I told him I'd ask for opinions. I'll keep it short, I hope. My ex and I were married from 2013 to 2022, and we have 3 beautiful children, ages 5, 4, and 2. He owns his own company and makes a decent living. He always wanted me to quit my job, even before we had kids, though I don't understand why. I didn't understand why at the time. He believed he made enough money for us, so I didn't need to work. After we had children, he became more vocal about his opinion. However, I didn't want to quit because I loved my job, and I enjoyed the balance of both of us working and then coming home to each other as a family. Our marriage deteriorated after our 3rd baby, and we eventually separated and got divorced. Now things are different. I don't have him anymore, and I'm all alone with no family. He has a lot of help from his mother and is now living with his girlfriend. When I have the children, it's just me, and honestly, I found it impossible to juggle both parenting and working full-time. So I quit my job last month because I was starting to feel burned out. I have the majority of custody until the kids are older, and it was too hard to maintain my job. I miss working, but I feel much better now. My ex-husband didn't say anything at first, but yesterday, when he came to pick up the kids, he exploded, accusing me of waiting until after the divorce to do what he had begged me to do while we were married. I started crying and told him the truth, that when we were married, I had his support, but now I'm on my own, which is why I had to quit. It wasn't to spite him, but because I couldn't handle both on my own. I regret the argument happened in front of the children and his girlfriend. We've never fought in front of the kids or spoken badly about each other before, but now he thinks I'm the villain, saying I broke up our family in his heart and then left. Okay, so a few things. First of all, I'm not sure entirely how real this post is, because as a single parent, there's no way you can quit your job, especially with 3 kids, and live, frankly. How are you paying your bills? How are you paying your mortgage? How are you paying your rent? If you have, whatever. How are you paying for life, for yourself, for your 3 kids? Groceries alone will eat you alive. So I don't understand that situation. I try not to read the comments on these because I don't want to be swayed one way or another, but I did kind of peruse, and I think someone mentioned that this poster mentioned on an edit somewhere in the comments that they own part of a business, so I guess there's like residual money coming in. So that could be. But the biggest takeaway from all of this was, for me, once you get divorced, you don't have to answer to anyone. You don't have to answer to your ex at all about anything you do in your life. unless it directly affects the kids. Your personal life, your work life, is no bearing. They have no need to have that information. So I'm not sure why she told the ex that she quit the job. I'm further confused as to why she said she would make a post because he's going to read this because she was asking for opinions. My friend, draw boundaries. Boundaries are your friend here because there is no reason for the ex to have any say-so in this at all. Not one single iota. I can't imagine how his live-in girlfriend was feeling hearing this argument. It feels like this was fairly fresh because there shouldn't be this much anger from him in this situation. I'm just very confused why she was talking to him about this, why he knows this part of her life, and why he got upset about it now. Because you're divorced. You have a live-in girlfriend. You have, your whole separate life now. What she does with her life and her time, again, unless it's directly affecting the children, you don't get that right to comment on or have any feelings on. At least no feelings you can have any right coming to her about. So that's odd to me. And as a single parent who works a lot, yeah, I only have one child. I don't have three, but it is very hard to do. Very hard to do. What you just get through it one day at a time. And her children are very young, 5, 4, and 2. That's a very hard age to be on your own as a single parent with the majority of the custody. But again, to reiterate, I don't see how she quit her job and is planning to exist unless she does have residual money coming in. But even then, with 3 young children, it better be real good money. And secondly, he has no say in what goes on in her life. He can feel how he wants to feel. Again, I said it before, all feelings are real, all feelings are valid. It's how you choose to act on those that becomes an issue, and he chose to act very poorly. He needs to speak with a therapist on how to better handle his emotions, in my opinion. I would love to hear your opinions below, and Houdini is snoring very loudly behind me, so if you can hear him, I'm sorry. Am I the problem for telling my sister her husband was cheating on her with her best friend, and now their marriage is over, and my parents are furious with me? So this is a mess. I, 32 female, found out something awful a couple of months ago, and now it feels like my whole family is crumbling. My sister, Emily, 34, has been married to John, 36 male, for 7 years. Everything seemed fine in their marriage until I noticed something off. Emily's best friend, Sarah, has been around since we were kids. She's like family, so none of us ever questioned how close she was with John. But I started seeing things. At first, it was small stuff, like how John and Sarah would sit together a bit too close during family gatherings, or how they had these little side conversations and inside jokes that Emily wasn't a part of. It didn't sit right with me, but I thought maybe I was overthinking things. They were close friends after all, right? But then I couldn't shake the feeling. Then the worst happened. One night, I decided to grab a late drink after work, and I saw them, John and Sarah, at a bar. And it wasn't them just hanging out. They were making out in the corner booth like teenagers. My heart literally dropped. I froze, didn't know what to do. So I snapped a pic on my phone and walked out of there. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do with the information. I spent weeks torturing myself over it. Should I tell my sister and blow up her life? Or should I keep quiet and let her live in the blissful lie? I couldn't look at her without feeling this horrible guilt. Every time she talked about John or Sarah, it felt like I was about to explode. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I told Emily. I showed her the photo, and at first, she just stared at me like I had destroyed her whole world. She couldn't believe it. She accused me of lying, of being jealous, or trying to stir drama in her life. But I just stood there, letting her scream at me because I knew she needed to get it out. Eventually, she confronted John and Sarah, and guess what? They admitted it. They'd been having an affair for 6 months behind her back. Emily kicked John out and is now moving forward with divorce. And as for Sarah, she's out of the picture. I thought Emily would hate me, but she's actually thanked me for telling her the truth. She said she never would have known and felt like an idiot for missing the signs. But now my parents are upset at me. Like, absolutely furious. They think I ruined their marriage and didn't give them a chance to work it out. My dad told me, sometimes people can move on from affairs, but you left her no choice. They're acting like I wrecked their lives. My mom even said I should have kept it to myself, and that Emily could have worked things out if I hadn't intervened. Now the family is divided, and it feels like I'm the bad guy for telling the truth. I can't lie, it's been really hard. Emily's been leaning on me for support, but now I'm on bad terms with my parents, and it's all just a mess. I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I'm questioning if I made things worse. So, am I the problem for telling my sister about the affair? Should I have kept quiet? Absolutely not. I'm really confused on why your parents are blaming you for your sister choosing to get a divorce. If they keep saying if the poster had kept quiet, the sister could have worked things out. How could the sister work things out if she didn't know? The poster didn't force the sister to get divorced, from what we've been told. It sounds like she just showed her the picture and let things go, and then the sister chose to get a divorce. So I'm really confused why the parents are this invested in the sister staying with the cheater. I understand on one side it sounds like Sarah has been basically a part of their family for a very long time, and now the parents are kind of grieving the loss of that pseudo child, the extra member of the family, as well as the son-in-law. But frankly, their sole focus should be supporting Emily through her divorce and being appreciative to Sarah for speaking up, because personally, I am a strong advocate of, if you see something or you feel something, say something. It cannot be fun to be the one that's being cheated on. And when you find out later that other people knew and chose to not say anything, that is a slap in the face all over again. If I knew one of my friends or, God forbid, a family member was being cheated on, absolutely say something. Be like, I have some information that's upsetting, and I just want you to know what I know or what I'm feeling. You can do with this information what you will. I'm not going to, bring it up again. I just need you to know XYZ. They may choose to not believe you. They may want to further investigate on their own. Any and all options are fine, but I have done my part. I have told them what I feel, what I know, and if they choose to work it out, good luck. If they choose to break up or get a divorce, how can I support you? How can I help you? If they choose to stay and turn a blind eye to things, I would probably take a step back from that relationship, because that is a drama train wreck waiting to happen. But I'm not in that relationship, so, I'm not going to judge that relationship. There's only two people, theoretically, in a relationship. And those are the only two that need to work on things. But no, the sister who told Emily is not the problem. I feel like she did exactly what she should have done. I'm not really entirely sure why the parents are upset with the sister for Emily getting a divorce, but I would take a pretty big step back from the parents in that situation too. It doesn't sound like Emily's upset with the sister for telling her, so I don't understand why her parents are upset, but she should not have kept quiet. She did exactly, in my opinion, what she should have done. And I think this is our last one for the evening, so. Am I the problem for not wanting to go to my sister's wedding because her fiance makes cruel jokes about my recovery? So I, 32 female, have been sober for just over 2 years now. I was an alcoholic and also struggled with drug addiction for a few years before I hit rock bottom and got my life together. It's been a rough road, but I'm proud of the progress I've made. I'm in a much better place now, and more importantly, I've been a better mom to my son. Here's where things get tricky. My sister, 28 female, is getting married in a few months to this guy, Mike, 33 male. I've never been a huge fan of him, to be honest. He's got this really crass sense of humor and always makes these awful jokes about my past. At family dinners or get-togethers, he'll say stuff like, "Careful, don't let her near the wine," or, "Hey, we gotta make sure there's no drugs at the wedding, right?" It's always said in this joking tone, but it feels so mean, and it really hurts because my recovery is something I take very seriously. I've asked him a few times to stop making these comments, and he just brushes it off like it's no big deal. "I'm just joking, lighten up," he says. My sister just laughs along with him and says, "That's just Mike. Don't take it to heart." But the thing is, it's hard not to take it to heart. I've been through hell and back to get sober, and my past is not something I'm proud of. Every time he makes one of these jokes, I feel like I'm being dragged back into that dark place I fought so hard to leave behind. I've tried talking to my sister about it, but she's totally dismissive. "You're being too sensitive," she says. "Mike's just trying to have fun. Don't make a big deal out of it." My parents are on her side, too. They think I should just suck it up and go to the wedding, that I'm making too much of it, and should just laugh along for the sake of family harmony. They keep telling me it's just a joke and to stop being so dramatic. But it's not funny to me. I don't think it's fair that I have to sit there and be mocked for one of the hardest things I've ever done. And honestly, I'm scared of being around that atmosphere at the wedding could make me want to drink again. I'm proud of my sobriety, but it's still fragile, and I know being around people who don't understand what I've been through is hard for me. So now I'm considering not going to the wedding. My sister's furious and says I'm being selfish for making her big day about me. My parents think I'm overreacting and that I should just let Mike's comments slide for the sake of family peace. But why should I have to be around someone who constantly makes me the butt of the joke over something so painful? I don't want to cause a rift in my family, but I also don't want to put myself in a position where I feel unsafe emotionally. Am I the problem for not wanting to go to my sister's wedding because her fiance's jokes hurt too much and no one in my family is standing up for me? No. I've never been in this situation, so I can't imagine how hard recovery from addiction of any kind is. But this poster should seriously be very proud of herself for getting herself out of that situation and working on getting her life straightened out. And frankly, her family should be celebrating her at every turn for this and supporting her however they can. Anyone making a joke at an addict's recovery process is one of the lowest of the low things you can do. That is not okay. Life is hard enough, frankly. Add on being a recovering addict to that. That is, I cannot imagine a more difficult road to travel. I can't imagine why they would feel like it's okay to have alcohol at a wedding when a member of the family is struggling with that. From my understanding, someone who's an addict is considered to always be an addict and always in recovery. So I feel like they should be extra accommodating to the sister who is the recovering addict in this situation. Have a dry wedding. It's really not that big of a deal. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. And if someone can't understand that, then they don't need to be in the family, frankly. I would lose my mind if anyone makes a joke about anyone, frankly, and they ask them, hey, I don't appreciate that joke. Can you stop? And they dismiss that person's feelings. First of all, it takes a lot of courage to approach someone and be like, it makes me XYZ when you joke about this. It makes me uncomfortable. It hurts my feelings. It makes me sad. It takes a lot of courage to approach someone and say that because of how you might be dismissed. And to be dismissed and then to be told that that dismissal is okay is extra invalidating. Frankly, if I were the sister, I would take a pretty big step back from everyone in this family because it doesn't sound like anyone is supporting them during their recovery. And from my understanding, that can be a very dangerous situation to backsliding into addiction, is not having the right support. I hope that they are going to whatever version of AA they need to go to. Al-Anon, I think, is one of them. I don't know. I think they mentioned alcohol, but also drugs, so I don't know, what drug-related AA or Al-Anon, whatever is equivalent. If they have a sponsor, I guess is what I should say. If they have a sponsor, hopefully they can talk to their sponsor when they're feeling weak. But I would absolutely skip the wedding. I would skip the holidays. I would skip pretty much everything moving forward with this family. But I can also see how alone that would make someone feel, which is also could be a dangerous time and a triggering time for an addict. So I would definitely skip the wedding and kind of see where the chips fall from that. I would reach out to a sponsor. If they don't have a sponsor, I would definitely look into getting a sponsor, because white knuckling sobriety and the road to recovery can be, from my understanding, extremely difficult. So I feel like a sponsor would be a good thing for them to have. Obviously, a therapist at this point. I feel like it kind of needs to be unsaid, but therapy is great. So, but a therapist would be great. A sponsor would be extremely helpful. And again, they are not the problem here in the least. Frankly, I don't even think the fiance is so much the problem. I feel like he's kind of the squeaky wheel that's getting the attention here. I feel like the parents and the sister being so dismissive of the poster, that's the real problem. Because if they were supportive of this poster, the fiance's jokes would have been nipped in the bud from the get-go. From the very first one, they would have been shut down. And if the fiance continued to make them, he would have been gone. So the fact that they let it go, let it slide, encouraged it by not standing up for the poster, it's not okay. I do hope that she continues her road to recovery. I do hope that she skips the wedding, and I hope that she stays strong in her recovery, and she should feel very proud of her recovery. That is an amazing feat. So that's all I have for this week. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. I would love to hear your thoughts on these. I always say that, and I very much mean that. But I do thank you for being here tonight. You could be anywhere else, and you chose to spend your time here, and that always is pretty amazing. So thank you, and I hope to see you back next week for volume 4, I think. I hope you're enjoying these. I am. Good night.